Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Soulmates Heart, podcast for your soul. Today's guest has lived 51 years with the same beloved
54
through what she calls 54 years. Sorry, she made sure that was nice and loud and clear. 54 years with the same beloved through what she calls the magnificent and the terrible. She's also a grandmother, a writer, and a woman who was built a following by simply telling the truth about love, about faith, and what it actually takes to stay. She calls herself a maven, and after this conversation, you'll understand why. Welcome to Soulmates Heart, Belle Gayer.
Thank you so very much. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. So I want to just thank you for what you do and the example you're setting for relationships and just being a light in the world. So just, want to start off the podcast by saying thank you for being who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So, Belle, we actually have a few traditions on our podcast, okay? The first tradition that we have is we do a quick little meditation before we begin. And I promise you it's like super, super easy, really quick and painless, hopefully. But all you have to do is you have to breathe in love. So we're just going to inhale. Love, love, love. Think of everything you love. And then when you exhale, we're going to exhale gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for everything. Just expressing gratitude to everything you're thankful for. And thank you for doing that. Hopefully that allows you to be present and grounded for this conversation. The second tradition that we have on this podcast is we actually had our previous guest leave a message that was dedicated for you. They have no idea who you are. They didn't know I was going to talk to you. They don't know what you do, but they left this message for you. Hopefully it lands. And if it doesn't, then hopefully it lands for one of the listeners out there today. But their message for you is you don't need to know anything because you already have everything. And she also added an XOXO at the end. So you don't need to know anything because you already have everything. And I hope that lands or resonates with you a little bit.
I like that. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about these 54 years that you corrected me on. Your life has included 51 magnificent and terrible, you say, with your beloved. So so when you hear 54 magnificent and terrible years, what's the first memory that comes to your mind when you hear that phrase?
Well, for me, it's just descriptive of our life together. But I always like to qualify the terrible by saying that none of the years were terrible except through outside forces.
Huh.
The outside pressures and forces like financial and problems with children. We have a son who has mental health issues since he was 3, and he's 33 now. So some of those years were terrible. Some of the years, we were on welfare for 10 years. 2008, when the recession hit, my husband lost his career and everything. Pretty much everything. We were just very lucky we didn't lose our house. Miraculous act.
Yeah, that was a tough time for a lot of folks, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. But you mentioned a few things just now, the challenges, outside forces. Some of the things you mentioned are, I think, what weighed down relationships the most. Having those conversations about like finances, for example. Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about, was there a moment when you're like, hey, this isn't you, this is the situation? Like, how did you learn that? When did you figure that out?
I think that the biggest problem people have with that is that they haven't connected with their communication is not on the level it needs to be to be able to deal with those problems the best way. When you are truly communicating on the deepest, most spiritual level between the two of you, you can handle anything, and you're a team, and it's twice as easy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily easy at all, but it is twice as easy as it would be if you had to handle those things alone.
Yeah, definitely. Was there something that you believed about love in your 20s, maybe, that you no longer believe now?
Oh, for sure. For sure. For sure. Well, I grew up with the music of the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and even before that, of course, there was all that the black music, which was wonderful, and blues and all of that, and also even folk music, which is the time I grew up in. But what always strikes me is that the Beach Boys song, "Wouldn't it be nice if we were older and we couldn't have to wait so long, and we could get married, and then we'd be happy. Yeah, yeah. That's the brainwashing you get when you're a teenager, or at least it was in the 60s. The brainwashing you got when you were a teenager. That said, and when I first got married, I have to say, honestly, I thought, now life is going to be so much easier because I have a helpmate, I have a partner. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I did.
Wow.
It's just not true.
And Belle, you sound like you're pretty good at karaoke too, from what I can hear. Was there a moment you almost didn't make it as a couple?
Well, there were a couple of moments. There were a couple of moments that were really hard.
What pulled you?
When we moved from New York to California for my husband to go to law school, and it was really hard to acclimate because he was working part time. Of course, we had time together, but he had studying, he had work, and he had exams. So it was a lot different. Although I put him through 8 years of school, so it wasn't like I wasn't used to school. But law school was tough. And also then we were home near family and friends. Whereas when we moved across the country, of course, that was much different. That was a very difficult time. I had to recommit. It was my problem, not his. He was okay. Of course, he was busy, and I was less busy. So I had to recommit to my priorities and make him a bigger priority, and just learn to deal with it.
Yeah. Can I ask, were your parents' marriage at all?
Yeah.
Was that ever a model to follow or to avoid?
God forbid.
Or maybe to avoid.
Well, from the time I was 3 till I was 13, we lived with my grandparents. And they were my model because they were deeply in love with each other. Not that they were necessarily physically affectionate in front of me, but you could. Both of my grandparents were married by arranged marriage.
Okay.
But my mother's parents, with whom we lived, they fell in love before they got married. My grandmother showed me love letters where my grandfather wrote to her and made poetry with her name and things like that. He really fell in love with her before they got married. Whereas my other grandparents, they were just living together. And so for me, they were my example of what a good marriage should be. My parents were problematic.
So looking back, was there a version of your life you thought you'd have that you're glad you didn't?
Well, I had professors at Brooklyn College who English teachers who wanted me to be a writer. And I had a speech teacher who wanted me to go on auditions to Broadway. And I looked at those things, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that I pursued the life I did because there's nothing like waking up every morning and going to sleep at night next to your beloved and being happy with the life that you've shared together and enjoyed.
You have a book, I believe it's called Are Relationships for Suckers?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I got that title on Quora. I got the title because it's hard. I wanted to say like the Beatles songs about all you need is love, or the love you take is equal to the love you make. I thought about that, and I said, how am I going to title this book? And 2.5 years after writing Quora, this question came to me, and it's honestly the only question that really took me aback. I was disturbed by it. And the gentleman said it had to be a man's question. He said, don't you believe that relationships are a sucker's business? And I went,
Mm.
"Oh my God, he really feels that way. That's so sad." It really took me I said, "That's terrible." But I thought, "What a
Yeah.
catchy title." If I rework that, that would be like provocative title. You know, today you need a hook because everybody's writing the book, including AI. And so why pick up mine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it. It's a gut punch. It's pretty interesting. Our
Exactly.
relationships for
And there
suckers.
are people who feel that way. I know. I do
Yeah.
know.
What's the biggest lie that we're sold about marriage or partnership and what it's supposed to be like or feel like?
I think the biggest lie is that love is enough. That's the biggest lie. It's never been enough. Love, marriage, long-term relationships are one of the hardest, if not the hardest job two people can undertake.
Why is that?
It requires so much time, energy, everything, effort, thought, communication, focus, all of that.
Yeah.
All of that.
Hmm. What about for those people that don't want to make it, they don't want to feel like the relationship is a job? What would you say to someone who's like, I don't want to look at it as a job?
Well, I mean, I don't actually look at it as a job. I don't say, "Oh my God, this morning now I've got to wake up and I've got to be nice to him, and I have to be responsible, and I have to go figure out what he needs for his birthday." Or I don't look at it that way.
Okay.
That's
So
not how I view it. I
when you
look
say-
at the positive side.
Gotcha. But when you say work, it's a lot of work. People then associate that word with like, oh, now it feels like I have to do a job essentially to
Well, I mean, we all have different kinds of responsibilities and situations. And you don't have to look at it like a job, but if you don't, you will be missing a lot because I'm not talking about it taking up a lot of time and thought in your mind. Just feeling love and remembering small gestures, even just
Yeah.
the small gestures. Those are the things that are the hard, sometimes the hardest part of the job, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah.
The occasional pet on the cheek and the brush of the shoulder and just sometimes saying out of nowhere, "Have I told you how much I love you recently?" It has to be a serious focus. It's not a job. Okay, so it's not a job. It has to be a very, very important focus, prioritization of that person.
I like that word, focus. Yes. Prioritization. That's definitely something I think a lot of people want to feel, at least if they're in a relationship.
You need
but
to be a
that's-
priority for each other. And if you have children, they need to be a joint priority. But
Mm.
you need to be, if not the most important thing in each other's lives, at least top two.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying I'm not asking this for a friend. This isn't me asking this question because I'm not scared. But if someone that is about to get married, and I'm laughing because I'm engaged and I'm about to get married, but this isn't like I'm not terrified. Just want to make it clear for my audience and my fiance who listens to my listens to my episodes. If someone were to come newly married, terrified, what would be the thing you'd want them to know before anything else?
That's a very good question. Let me think a second. I think what I'd want them to know is that it's worth every second of the time, effort, energy, and love, and feelings, and focus that you give to your partner. I like to call my husband, husband, I hate significant other. Partner too is very cold. I like to call him my beloved. I think that if you think of someone as your beloved, it creates what in Hebrew is kavanah, feeling. It's even kavanah is warmth and spiritual closeness. You create a kavanah in your life. You create a joyous center, and that when you do that, you it changes the way you think about them and the rest of your life. And it makes you a better person. And it makes your relationship dramatically better. Especially that beloved, thinking of them as the beloved, especially when times are rough or you disagree.
Yeah. Is there a fight or conflict style that you and your husband had to unlearn together?
Oh, I did. He was great. He was great. I was very when I first got married, I was very, very sensitive, and I would be difficult to deal, and we would fight sometimes till 2 in the morning. I do believe you should never go to sleep angry. You should always resolve any issues before you go to sleep. So, and it came to me one morning when I said, "You know, I'm I'm wasting so much energy on this. It's not healthy, and it would be so much better if we stopped fighting and started listening to each other harder, especially me, and
Yeah.
stop being so sensitive about little things. Prioritize that. Is it what's really important? Is it important that he left the bar of soap on the lip instead of putting it on the tray? Is that something to be upset about? Or forgot to put the toilet seat up? Back down, right?
Down. Yeah. I was going to say,
Forget up. You don't forget up, men. So, like, prioritizing what's really important. What is there to talk about, and what is there to actually argue about?
yeah. Wow. Is there such a thing as too much compromise in a relationship?
Sometimes you have to even, sometimes, yes and no. Sometimes you need to tell the other person they're right even when you know they're wrong. Sometimes you need to apologize even when you're right and they're wrong. But that's not really the compromise end. The compromise end is everything in life can be a compromise, or maybe a compromise. I mean, there's a lot of compromising we do throughout our lives in every way without thinking about it, without involving another person, or maybe involving your job or things like, or a friend.
Sure.
Compromise is a part of life. It's a healthy compromise. What's too much compromise is when you are giving into something you really hold as an important lesson in your own life. That's something you shouldn't be compromising on.
And how do you know when you've given up too much of yourself?
Well, that's a good question because I never have. I'm a very strong person, though. So I'm a firstborn, and that always kind of makes you kind of a little pushy and strong, I think, being a firstborn. When would someone know that they've given up too much? If you really, if when you go to bed at night, you say, "I'm not comfortable with having given that."
Yeah.
And I think that has to do with the level of communication that you share. Can you say that to your beloved? Can you say, I adore you, I love you, but there's this one thing that's bothering me that I feel is wrong. Can you say that to them? And feel you're getting an honest response? I mean, that's where I would go with that. It's a level of communication that's missing. Because if you've given too much, feel you've given up too much of yourself, that means you haven't communicated to your partner how important that was to you.
So that's powerful. I like that. So being able to communicate what actually bothers you, what actually affected you, or you felt a certain way. So
that's not
is
blame. You can't be defensive either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just when you were talking, I was envisioning my partner and what she does, and now she can just look at me, and I know what's bothering her.
Yeah. Well,
just with the look.
We read each other's minds. We can finish each other's sentences. We know what we like, what we don't like. Yeah, sure. That's part of the spiritual depth of communication that you're starting to share.
Can I get an understanding of what your thoughts are on soulmates?
Yeah. That's I love that. And true love we have to talk about too.
Okay, sure. Let's start with soulmates.
Soulmates. Okay. So there are people who believe that soulmates come from generations back, from past lives, and they're meant to be in your life and destined that way. What a bunch of hooey. Soulmates are cultivated through your relationship today. Through years and decades of learning how to get along, how to compromise, how to be happy with each other, how to create beautiful moments together. That's how you create soulmates.
So, in your perception or in your way of viewing soulmates, anyone can be my soulmate if I work on it.
Correct. That's correct. If you have enough basic compatibility, you have to start out on solid ground, which means you have to have basic compatibilities. You must have basic compatibilities. You must have basic compatibilities. And you can have less or more of them. When you have more, it's easier. And when you have less or more of them, it makes it harder to make the relationship work. It's hard. So you have your age, your interests, your goals, your desires, your spirituality, all of those things, your background, all of those things are compatibility factors. Your background, all of those things are compatibility factors. So when you start on solid ground, then you build. When you start on solid ground, then you build your foundation.
Yeah.
So the foundation.
So what about the one or true?
I found. Go ahead. I just was going to give you the foundation.
Oh no, please give me the foundation. Yes.
Okay, so the foundation is four-sided, like most foundations are. I guess in our society, I don't know. Hippies don't have those. So the foundation is communication, non-conflict communication. And listening, good listening skills. Then you have focus, which is, as we talked about, which is the prioritization of each other. And the third one would be devotion, which is a deeper, higher level of commitment to each other. And the last one is a life skill, which is flexibility or adaptability, the ability to change direction when things don't go as planned. And that's the foundation. And then you build your house of love on that. And you've got a firm back something that won't crack at the slightest thing, where you can really you have a great foundation.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love having a foundation, and those are really great points to have. What I wanted to then ask you then, what about this idea of the one or true love, as you mentioned?
Well, first of all, true love is a myth. It's a fantasy. It's an invention of romantic novelists, poets, movies, TV, social media. It's nonsense. There's no such thing as true love, because true love is perfect love, and everything is perfect, and everything goes just the way you want it to. Nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. There is enduring love, however. Enduring love is the second. Well, there's the two stages of love. There's the honeymoon stage, which normally lasts, according to research, 5 months, 6 months to 2 years, and then it dies. That's research, not my opinion. So it's when all the happy hormones, are going at their best, and you kind of overlook the little something that you shouldn't be. And then the second and final stage of love is enduring love, which is something that's where the work starts, because I know. I woke up 5 months after we got married. I rolled over toward my husband and I said, "Oh my God, I'm sleeping with my brother." I mean, I don't have a brother. But so to speak. And suddenly, all those exciting hormone things just died, just were gone that morning. Just poof.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And I just kind of rolled toward him, and we made love, and everything was fine. And we went on. We were already in enduring love. We had already begun that. And no one explained that to me either.
Yeah, interesting. Regarding your following that you've built a huge following, actually, by answering questions honestly. Yep. Why do you think people are so hungry for that right now, specifically?
Well, I think people are hungry to connect. I think we have become a society of looking at your cell phone and computer and spending time on the couch. And that's become the standard for society today. So unfortunately. So I think people are kind of afraid of each other more. I think they're afraid of because there are a lot of scam artists and crazy things going on in the world, and everything is on the news constantly. So you can't avoid it. So I think people want to connect more. They want to be happier. Everyone should be happier.
Yeah. I want that too. I want everyone to be happier.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice that you've gotten often that you maybe had to learn the hard way yourself?
I think that's the biggest one. I think that people are people tend to wallow in it and not want to give it up. They do, but they don't. And so they end up. I can't move on. I can't stop thinking about him. It's everything reminds me. I think that's a standard way of when you have the teenage idea of what love is really all about and what it's like. That's what you think. Oh, I lost my love. This is all. Often that's a good thing. Most relationships were never meant to last. They are life lessons. When you understand that and accept it, you understand that you can move on much more quickly. And not to say that you can't be upset about losing someone you love. Love
Right.
doesn't just vanish because you break up.
Right. Do you think younger generations are asking different questions about love than your generation did, or is it the same ones just in a different way?
I think they're the same questions. I have to say that after 6 months answering questions on Quora, they were all the same questions. Now, this generation, maybe, or actually not. To be fair, I answer questions from people from the age of 12 to like 85.
Yeah.
So it's not just this generation, of course. Although obviously we're living in this generation. But I think that the questions are always the same. People are people. Our feelings are our feelings. Love is the same in some ways and different in others, but basically the same for everybody. And I think the questions are the same.
Hmm. Can you tell me what the difference between wisdom and just being right is?
That's a very good question. Because people have told me that I'm wise when I answer. Not right. I mean, sometimes they say I'm right. But often they say, you're very wise. I think wisdom comes from more than just being right. It's a confluence of circumstance. It's not just one thing you're right about. Yeah, that light's going to change in 30 more seconds. That's being right. But it's not enough. Being wise is understanding a whole picture.
Understanding the whole picture. Have you ever confused being right and being wise?
No, I don't think about being wise. I do think a lot about being right.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us are on that same boat there, Belle. So I have a couple questions about legacy and being a grandmother. What does being a bubby teach you about being a mother? What does being a bubby teach you about that being a mother didn't?
Oh, well. The best thing about being a bubby is that you can hand the kid back to the parents when they're having some problem. You don't have to deal with it. Okay, it's your kid. But that's just being funny.
Yeah.
Being a bubby means enjoying the childhood of a child who's related to you, but not from you, not your very own. And just the joy of it, because you've had your child. If you're a grandparent, you've had your child, one or more, and you've experienced being a parent. But you haven't experienced. It's a freedom. There's a freedom to being a bubby.
Yeah.
A grandmother, a grandparent that you don't have as a parent. As a parent, it's your absolute job. You've got to be there for them all the time. As a bubby, you are there because you want to be there and because you want to watch them grow and help them along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Belle, by the way, I cannot see you anymore. I don't know if that was
Hold
by...
on 1 second. I think I'm losing power. Hold on. See if I can fix that. Let me see. That may be the issue. I hope that's the issue. And also, put some more light in. See if this does it. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see.
Okay, got you back.
Is that any better? Okay,
Is that any
was the
better?
problem.
Yeah,
My
much
computer
better.
was saying that was
You
the problem. My computer
Give
was
me
saying
enough
that.
energy. You didn't give me enough energy.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
So, no problem. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, so What do you want your grandchildren to know about you that isn't in any of your writing?
I want them to know how much I love them. I only get one, by the way, sadly. But I'm thrilled with her. She's a joy. And I
Oh,
want her to know that she was one of the most important things to me as I got older, that I appreciated her growth and her feelings and her care. And I appreciated the fact that I was physically healthy enough to be able to give that what I can to her. We spend one day a week with her, one afternoon and evening a week. And actually, we're considering moving closer because I'd like to be able to spend a little more. She's 5.5, 5 3/4.
oh, it's
And
wonderful.
yeah, she's a joy. So I want her to know how important family is. I want her to know that she can always come to me with any problem she might have, and I will be as loving and kind. And I like to end my answers on Quora with saying, "I wish you mazel and joy or happiness or deep connection or something like that, or healing on your journey." Because I'd like to think of the people who ask me questions on Quora as though they were my own children and grandchildren, and that's the kind of feeling that I like to share with them, that they know that when I answer them, I'm coming from a place that's says that they're important to me at this moment in time.
Yeah. If your grandchild could inherit only one value from you, what would you choose it to be?
I would choose it to be compassion and empathy, but because they're to me they're one, even though often they're not, sadly. Compassion and
Uh,
empathy, that she should be feeling for the world, for others, and putting herself in other people's shoes when so she can understand them better and the
yeah.
world better.
Yeah, I think empathy is such a powerful thing. So I definitely agree with you on that. If What's a piece of your family history or your story that you feel responsible for keeping alive?
I think that to me, part of that is being Jewish and the values, the morals, the ethics that have been passed down through the centuries for us. I think we're still here because they've been passed down, despite all the things where people have tried to destroy us as a nation, as a people. I think that's the most important thing to me.
Okay. What's something about long-term love that nobody tells you until you're decades in?
How hard a job it is, as we discussed. No one, oh, you people think, oh, it's nothing, just do it. No, it's. I think that's the hardest part of that. And as you say, some people get well. If it's a job, well, I don't need another job. I've got a job. I'm working hard at my job. Well, yeah, but your private life, your personal life, and your business life, they need to be separately considered.
Okay. Do you think resilience is something you're born with, or is it something that life carves into you?
Some people are born with more resilience than others, yeah. But I do believe it can be developed, just like flexibility. There are life skills that some people naturally have more of than others. Let's face it. I mean, all kinds of skills, math skills, science skills. Some people are better at different things, right? So everybody is born with some level of all the life skills that we share. But I think
Yeah.
resilience definitely often that's what when bad things become good things or can lead to good things. That's when
Oh,
relationships break up that were never meant to be and shouldn't have happened, that you learn from and you move on, and you it comes to you will come to a better place if you allow yourself to. A lot of it is what you allow yourself to. When
yeah.
something comes into your head, you a bad thought, the Jewish philosophy is that there's a Yetzer HaTov, that all human nature is dual, and that there's a Yetzer HaTov, which is your good thoughts and inclinations, and a Yetzer Hara, which is a bad thoughts and inclinations, that's the duality of human nature. Okay. So,
Mm,
and the problem and the fact is that the Yetzer Hara can be very, very, very strong. And sometimes it's a little good because your ego is involved, and sometimes you should have. There are moments when you need to put your ego up there. That's important too sometimes. But in general, bad or evil thoughts and personal selfish thoughts are not the best way to do things, but they're very strong. And often people will just follow that instead of activating their Yetzer HaTov.
I'm absorbing all the information you just shared. Is there Is there a difference between staying in a relationship out of love versus out of habit?
Sure, absolutely. Sure.
And how,
And comfort levels, and fear, sure. There's a big difference between staying in a relationship out of those things.
and how do you tell them apart, like habit versus like out of love?
Well, I mean, when you love someone deeply, you feel that all the time. It goes into your, it's part of your essence. It's how you live. Your emotion, you feel those emotions all the time. Little things will trigger happier moments. When you're doing something just out of habit, it's because it's easier. There's no emotion involved.
Okay. What's a question people ask you constantly that you're tired of?
How to define love? How do you define love? What does it? That I get tired of that. I've written lengthy treatises on what I think love is. But what I tell people is I refer them back to my prior content. I go, I've written long answers for you. I even have one. I think I pinned one as my main answer for like 6,000 upvotes on one particular question. You know, but the meaning of love to me is love is an essential, fundamental human need.
Mm.
I get tired of explaining it to everybody all the time.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have that question on my list. So, can you tell me what's the kindest thing your husband has ever done for you that had nothing to do with romance?
Oh, he is not just my beloved. He is a spectacular husband. He really. I have to be careful what I say I like because it will show up the next day in my house. This is very dangerous territory. He does that to me. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. He said to me one morning, he said, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I think, what can I do for Belle today? What can I do to make her happy? I mean, he shared that thought with me, and I found it very moving. We have a very special, close relationship, and like I said, there's nothing we kiss in the morning before when we wake up, and we kiss and hug when we go to sleep, when we go to bed. We do little things for each other. We do big things for each other. He'll say, it's just you and me against the world, babe. That's where we've come to.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I like to ask you a question about aging, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Has that changed your definition of beauty or desirability for yourself or how you see others?
Not for me. Not at all. Because I always, always, always saw beauty as being only internal. What
Mm.
people look like has nothing to do with who they are, what they are inside, how worthwhile and valuable they are as human beings. So not for me. But I think that it's funny because I didn't. I think before we started the podcast, I was saying people don't say oh, you don't look 75. I don't. That's meaningless to me because age also has nothing to do with appearance. I mean, yes, I have more wrinkles or less wrinkles than someone else my age or whatever. But what's important is your inner beauty.
Is there something that you and your beloved still disagree on after
Oh,
54
sure.
years?
We had a blowout a couple months ago, over something, and actually it was over a misunderstanding, of something that happened. Yeah, sure, of course, we're human. We're living. We have experiences. We do things. We don't do things. We miss things. We overdo things. Yeah, of course, we still have disagreements. Absolutely, absolutely.
Is there a boundary that ever took you maybe a few decades to learn how to set?
No. I've always been a very, very extroverted person. It never, like some people will still say, oh, you can't take a poop in front of your husband. Please, we did that on the first day. What's that mean? It's a human function. What is that? You're embarrassed by that? Get over yourself. No, not me.
Funny. Yeah. Okay, that's good. If you could describe your marriage in one word, what would it be?
Joyous. We create more
Joyous.
joy
I
every
like
day.
that.
We are, I mean, we have hard moments. Right now we're dealing with our son who's 33 and has had mental health issues for a long time. He's moving back into our house. That's tough. We had a little, so it's stressful, but it doesn't change our relationship. It's just part of living together, part of our life.
Yeah. I'm sorry you're going through that, but I got laid off during COVID.
Mm.
and I moved back in with my parents at 31. I think I was at that.
Mm.
How long ago was COVID? 630. Yeah, I was 31.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was at the time very like shitty experience for me to have to go back
Yeah.
to living with parents and living
Embarrassing.
with rules.
Sure.
But now retrospectively, after I've moved out, I really got to enjoy them as an adult. And I didn't really think I knew them. Like I thought I knew them, and then now as an
Mm.
adult, it's very different. And I'll never forget my grandma and her wisdom. I'm sure she read it in a book or something, but
Mhm.
she told me that she didn't learn how to be a good mom until she became a grandma.
Uh,
And that she didn't learn how to be like a good daughter until she was a mom.
mm.
And that most of the time we get a different perspective when we experience things from the other side or from a different
Sure.
viewpoint. And so my parents really helped me out a lot with my son. And I share my
Mm.
son with my son's mom. And so having to move back with my parents, but also have to bring my son in with me, right? And also
Yeah.
have to share a room with my son. And I like to
Mhm.
say that him and I grew up together. We kind of, experienced a lot of things together. And he's been a friend,
Mhm.
actually, which I'm now
Yeah.
very thankful that he is his age and I did have him young. But one of the things that I just want to say specifically about your son's situation is that there will be a lot of learning and a lot of growth and awesomeness that
Oh, yeah.
comes from it.
Yeah.
And
For
my
sure.
parents never said it, but they were a little lonely too, and it was nice to have each other. And yeah,
Sure.
of course we bickered, and
Oh,
my
sure.
dad and I have the same name, so
Oh,
he loves to open up my mail even to this day. So, like, it just I can never hide anything from the guy. He really should have been an FBI agent. But anyway, I wish you luck on that journey. But speaking of journeys, I'm about to embark on mine. I mentioned to you this. I mentioned this briefly before the conversation, but
mm.
I'm planning my marriage for next year. It's in our wedding will be next year at the end of the year. Do you have any recommendations for me? Any tips? Any advice that I can carry with me for anyone who is hearing this, also maybe in the same boat where they're about to make this long-term commitment? Even though, I mean, I've already been with her for a long time, but
Yeah, but still, it changes expectations. It changes when you get married, even if you've seen each other for a very long time. Yeah, I just listen hard. And always clarify. If you're not sure what she means about something, anything, just say, listen, can you tell me more? Can you give me more on that? I'm not clear on that. I didn't understand that. Or I'd like to hear more about how you feel about that. Just look for more
mm,
depth. Always look for more depth in a situation, especially if you're not really completely clear about exactly what she means. Because we make assumptions sometimes, and they can lead you down the wrong path.
yeah, that's especially for someone that generates their own assumptions and creates stories in their head.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can see that being a dangerous path, to
yeah.
take as well. If you could sit across from yourself right now at 25,
Yeah.
what's the one sentence you'd say to yourself?
You're in for quite the journey.
Nice. What does peace look like for you now after
Oh,
everything?
peace is working in my garden. I have an edible garden with all kinds of different vets, Jerusalem artichokes, Chinese artichokes, tomatoes, eggplants, arugula, lettuce. I grow only edibles and flowers, edible flowers, and a little bit of fruit. And so peace to me is going out there and putting things in the ground and digging things up and picking the string beans and picking the salad materials and planting the garden and I put in something new every year. Last year it was potatoes. This year it was the Chinese artichokes. Yeah. So peace, peace is, peace is without my husband, without my beloved. Peace is my own time,
Hmm.
my own personal time.
I
Just
think that's
that.
good to hear because a lot of people forget to make time for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a great point. Is there something that's still unfinished for you? Something that you're still working toward or hoping for?
Yes, I want my book in every household in the world. I want people to be able to use it as a guide, as a roadmap to help them understand love, understand and being happy and be feeling worthy of love and not and being feeling happy within themselves, finding more
Yeah,
self-love and being able to understand that they can find, keep, and nurture love for a lifetime. Because if we can do it, so can they.
I love that. I love that. I hope people find that book, and when they do, I hope it opens up a lot of their eyes and helps guide them, as you said. Belle, before we, say our goodbyes, I used to be a rapper, and I used to make songs and sing and do a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the things that I loved doing as a rapper was freestyle battle, where we would just, rap whatever it is against each other. But in this case, I don't need you to rap. I don't need you to create a rhyme, but I am going to ask your soul to freestyle, and I'm going to draw a word. And based off the word I draw, you're going to say whatever comes from your heart, whatever comes from your soul for today's listeners as your message. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So your word is belonging.
Connection. Connection is important because we were meant to be, we were never meant to be alone. We were meant to be pack animals, to live, to connect with each other, to belong to each other and to the world, and to belong to giving to others and caring about others. So belonging to sharing with everyone our own inner soul, our goodness, our happiness, and to share and belong to a better place and to make the world a better place.
That was powerful. Thank you, Belle. That was really good. I love that. It's a wonderful message. And thank you for letting your soul freestyle on the show.
My pleasure.
Lastly, Belle, where can people find you? Where can people get your book, Our Relationships for Suckers? Where can they ask you questions? Where can we find you?
Okay, so I do have a website, but it's not where I spend most of my time. I have my website is ourrelationshipsforsuckers.com, but I spend most of my time on Quora.com, and I try to answer just about every question that I get. So I've answered over 27,000 of them for the last 7 years. It's a lot of questions. Yeah, a lot of questions.
Quite a lot.
And yeah, it's a lot of questions. And the book is available on Amazon, on Ingram Sparks, and on barnesandnoble.com. And I'm working to get it out there internationally as well. And I just had a couple of articles written about me, one in Rewritten, I think it is, and one in New York Weekly. I think I'm going to put those links on my in my website and on my Quora profile. And I also have other podcasts available to people to listen to, and I list those on my Quora profile page if anybody's interested.
Really cool. Thank you, Belle. I really appreciate you coming on the show, giving us a little bit of insights on your relationship, on your advice, and just your wonderful goal to make the world a better place. We hope to help you be a small part of that. So
thank you.
Thank you so much.
I wish you
Belle.
the best.
Appreciate
I
you.
wish you the best on your future marriage. I'm sure
Thank
you
you.
do a great job.
I have a lot of high bars now to reach as I'm learning, but it's cool because I get to see good examples of love, and I love that. So really cool. Thank you, Belle, for being here today and for joining us on the conversation. For everybody else, thank you for being present as well. If you made it this far, don't lose faith, lose fear, peace, and let your heart be light. We'll see you around next time. Bye, everybody.